The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the overgrown field. The summer heat was suffocating, making the air shimmer. A group of 5 friends stood in a loose circle, nostalgia heavy in their hearts. They hadn't been together in years, yet the pull of their shared past had brought them back to this forgotten place. "It's just as we left it," murmured Emma, wiping sweat from her brow and gazing at the gnarled oak tree that stood sentinel over their childhood time capsule. 20 years, sighed Daniel, his voice barely more than a whisper. "Feels like a lifetime." "Or several," quipped Laura, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. She, like the others, felt the strange weight of time pressing down on her. They had all changed. Daniel's hair had thinned, Emma's eyes were rimmed with lines. Laura had a scar running along her left cheek that hadn't been there before. Only Marcus and Peter seemed untouched by the years, but even they carried the invisible burdens of time. "All right," Peter said, attempting to shake off the unease. "Let's dig it up." The group moved mechanically, their laughter forced as they uncovered the rusty metal box buried beneath the oak. The lock was brittle, and with a single twist, it gave way. Inside the box, the items lay untouched, as if preserved by some unseen force. An old Polaroid camera, trinkets from their childhood, and a handful of letters, yellowed with age. "I can't believe this is still here," Emma said, picking up a small plastic dinosaur. "We were such kids." "Yeah," Marcus said, reaching for the camera. "Remember how we took all those photos before we buried it? We wanted to capture everything." "Let's look at them," Daniel suggested, though his voice carried a hint of reluctance. Marcus snapped the camera open, pulling out the stack of photographs. They were faded, the edges curling, but the images were still clear. "Here's us in front of the oak," Laura said, pointing to a photo. "And here's Daniel tripping over his own feet." Laughter rippled through the group, genuine this time, until Emma pulled out a photo of a small, charred building. "I don't remember this," she said, frowning. The others gathered around. "Neither do I," Marcus said. "Why would we take a picture of something like that?" "That's strange," Peter said, flipping to the next photo. It showed a car accident, the metal twisted and crumpled. "What the hell?" Laura whispered. "Did we take these?" The mood shifted. The warm nostalgia was replaced with a creeping dread. Each photo they flipped through showed scenes of destruction, despair, and disturbingly, familiarity. The next photo made Emma gasp. It was a picture of a woman standing on the edge of a cliff. Her back was to the camera, but the clothes and posture were unmistakable. "That's me," Emma said, her voice trembling. "No, it can't be," Daniel said, though his face had gone pale. "These are just coincidences." "Coincidences?" Marcus snapped. "That's clearly Emma. And this." He pulled out another photo, showing a man with a scar on his cheek, laying motionless in a dark alley. "That's you, Laura." Laura backed away, shaking her head. "This is insane. We were kids. We didn't take these photos." Peter's hands trembled as he held up the last photo. It was an image of 5 tombstones, each bearing their names. "It's some sick joke," he said, though he didn't sound convinced. "Who would do this?" Emma whispered, tears in her eyes. "I don't know," Daniel said, "but we need to leave." Over the next few days, the friends tried to go back to their lives, but the photos haunted them. Emma couldn't stop thinking about the cliff. She stopped going near the sea altogether. Laura avoided dark alleys. Daniel became reclusive, his mind unraveling with each passing hour. The worst was Marcus, who couldn't stop flipping through the photos, obsessing over each detail, each face. He swore he could see their futures in the shadows. "It's happening," he said during a late-night call with Peter. "I can feel it. We're cursed." "You're being ridiculous," Peter replied, though his voice lacked conviction. "They're just photos." "Are they?" Marcus hissed. "Then why do I dream about them every night? Why do I see us dying in every reflection?" Peter had no answer. He too had started to notice strange things. The shadows in his room seemed darker, the silence heavier. The first tragedy struck with Laura. She was found in an alley near her apartment, her body twisted in a way that mirrored the photograph. The news hit them like a hammer. "It's begun," Marcus said grimly. Emma sobbed into the phone, her voice barely audible. "We have to stop it, we have to." "How?" Daniel asked. "You think we can just undo whatever this is?" "We have to try," Peter said, though his voice was hollow. He didn't believe it, but desperation drove them. They returned to the field, hoping to find answers. The oak tree loomed over them, its branches bare despite the summer. They dug around the spot where the time capsule had been, hoping for a clue, anything to explain the photos. "There's nothing here," Daniel said, throwing down the shovel. "We're digging up ghosts." Emma fell to her knees, clutching the photograph of her on the cliff. "I don't want to die. I don't want to die." Peter knelt beside her. "We'll figure something out." "It's too late," Marcus said, staring at the ground. The photos were just the beginning. Their prophecies. "No," Daniel said, his voice rising. "I won't accept that." Emma was next. Despite her efforts to avoid the sea, she was found at the base of a cliff, the waves washing over her lifeless body. Her death sent shockwaves through the remaining friends, their grip on reality slipping. Daniel descended into madness, barricading himself in his apartment, refusing to answer calls. When Peter and Marcus broke down his door, they found him hanging from the ceiling, his face twisted in terror. "This isn't happening," Peter whispered, his hands shaking. "It can't be real." "It is," Marcus said, his voice dead. "We're next." Peter and Marcus spent their final days together, unable to escape the creeping doom. They tried to burn the photos to destroy the evidence, but the images remained, burned into their minds. "What do we do?" Peter asked one night, his eyes bloodshot, his hands trembling. "There's nothing we can do," Marcus replied. "We were doomed the moment we opened that box." Peter laughed bitterly. "So this is it. We die because of a stupid time capsule. Because of what it contained," Marcus corrected. The next morning, Peter woke to find Marcus gone. He found him under the oak tree, lifeless, his face peaceful for the first time in days. A single photograph lay on his chest, the last of the 5 tombstones, now with only one name left untouched. Peter returned to the city, waiting for the end. He wandered the streets, aimless, his mind fractured. The world felt hollow, as if drained of color and life. He knew his time was near. One night, he found himself in a cemetery, drawn there by some unseen force. He wandered until he found the 5 tombstones, just as they had appeared in the photograph. His own grave lay open, waiting for him. Peter collapsed to his knees, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. "So this is how it ends," he whispered to the void. As the darkness closed in around him, he saw the faces of his friends, their eyes hollow, their lips moving in silent whispers. They had all been called home, and now it was his turn. The last photograph fluttered down, landing softly on the ground, the final prophecy fulfilled. Thank you for joining me this evening. Before you go, make sure you subscribe and leave a like. If you have an idea for a short, scary story, leave it in the comments below. See you at the next campfire.